That's a nice car.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Paul from the Nissan EV Owners Group. The Nissan Ariya is the only new electric vehicle that you can buy from Nissan at the moment that is discontinued. And I drove the two-wheel drive version some time ago, and it's a lovely car. The interior is absolutely fabulous. It's such a nice place to be. My only criticism of the two-wheel drive Ariya was it was a bit fidgety. I didn't think the suspension was really quite sorted. The addition of four-wheel drive, or as Nissan call it, e-force, has very much changed the way that this goes about its business. When you design the suspension for a front-wheel drive car, one of the things the engineers have to do is they have to consider that all the power is going through just two wheels. In an e-force, like this one, the suspension is less compromised because all of the power is going through both axles. And there's a rear motor and there's a motor in the back of this. An Evolve e-force with the 87 kilowatt hour battery pack. It's 50. The cheapest Ariya you can get, a two-wheel drive with a small battery, and the free colours is about 50,000. If you must compare it to another car of a particular American manufacturer, you'll compare this to the Tesla Model Y. Tesla Model Y is slightly bigger than this, slightly wider, not quite as tall. If you were to spec a Tesla to be similar as this Evolve e-force car, it will be rather cheaper. And that's great if you like a Tesla. I don't like a car that is a bit clinical. I like a car with personality. I like a car that doesn't leave me cold. The Model Y does precisely that. I'm not a fan. I like a button, and you'll see there's just enough buttons here. There's a button for everything you need, and if you don't need it, it's in a nice, easily accessible menu. If you start getting merry with the options list, you get the sunroof, you get the heads-up display, which is, once you've had a heads-up display, you'll think, oh, I wish I've always had one before. Where does this car lose out? It's invariably boot space. Because it's a crossover coupe, you get this gorgeous sloping rear roof line, and that does take away a lot of boot space. Let's go this way. This car, 408 litres with the seats up, and yes, that's not a lot. But if you only need to put 408 litres of stuff in the back of your Ariya, it's perfect. The Skoda Octavia has 500 and something, I can't remember the exact numbers, and the Model Y that people will inevitably compare this to, and there's a red one just there, it claims double the boot space of this, 800 and something litres. I'm not convinced that people buy an Ariya as a load hauler. They buy it because it's the best, one of the best EVs that you can buy today. It's the middle of December, it's 4 degrees outside. This car is currently doing 3.4 miles to the kilowatt hour. It's actually not that bad. I like to think I'm relatively proficient at driving electric cars efficiently. This one's doing 3.4 miles to the kilowatt hour. I'm not very familiar with driving this car, so I could probably work on it and get a little bit more. The 8-year-old Leaf that we used to drive here today is turning out 4.4 miles per kilowatt hour. It's an extremely efficient car, but they're not comparable. You can compare this to the Model Y, and the Model Y is rather more efficient. The bigger Teslas get some of their efficiency through quite high tyre pressures, and that compromises ride. And I've talked about this already, but I'm going to say it again. The ride in this is sublime. It's easily one of the best rides I've had. The seats are gorgeous. And Nissan are clearly perfectly prepared to trade away some efficiency for ride quality. And I'm down with that. I'm okay with that. Richard Porter, Jeremy Clarkson's former scriptwriter and Sniff Petrol presenter, has a Model Y, and he's already taken loads of air out of the tyres because that thing is at 40 psi, but I am told the ride's quite firm. It's such a lovely interior. It's so sorted. It's so what's the word? It's so mature. It's not childish. It's not gimmicky. It's a great car, this. I do love it. Maybe we won't give it back to Simon. He won't mind. I've given him some cakes. He'll be fine. The four-wheel drive version that we've got here, the four-wheel drive, Nissan call it E-Force. That's their nomenclature for all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive. They only have the 87 kilowatt battery. Some markets, the Japanese, give you the smaller 63. But here we only have 87 kilowatts. And the combined output of these two motors is 306 brake horsepower. It's plenty. It's not a heavy car, but neither is it a light car. But as usual, it's the torque, and it's the torque delivery of these things that make EVs do what they do best. And this is 600 Newton meters, loads of torque. It's not all delivered from 0 speed, so you don't get all this uncouth delivery of power from a standstill, and I like it that way. There's no trick suspension going on here. It's springs and coils. There's no trickery. No air suspension, which was, I'm told, muted for the better, the more expensive Ariyas that never came. When I first saw the Nismo, the nice people at the Everything Electric show wouldn't really tell me the price, but they hinted and whispered, and they said it's around £60,000. When you think what Nismo gives you over and above what this car is, Nismo suddenly looks fantastic value. Well, there's only 85 coming to this country. I've been in the Nismo. I found the interior a little bit dark and perhaps a bit oppressive. Maybe that's what the youngsters like in their fast cars. It's a brutally quick car. We haven't driven one yet. This car's not built in this country. NM UK, Nissan's facility in Sunderland, aren't currently building any cars for sale in UK markets. This car was built in Parma in Japan. Obviously this comes with CCS. Curiously, you buy this car in Japan, it still comes with shadow mode. How big is it? Well, 4.6 meters long, 1.8 meters tall. Not a very wide car, but it doesn't suffer internally. The equivalent Tesla, the Model Y, is quite a bit wider and 10 centimeters longer as well. That's where it gets some of its greater interior space. get CarPlay and Android Auto as standard with this, not an extra. Annoys me when manufacturers charge you for that sort of software that really ought to be standard these days. That said, the software in the car is already pretty good. You don't really need, unless there's stuff you want, there isn't a need for Android Auto. So what do we like about this car? Well, it's composed, it's mature, the suspension and the ride is easily the best I've experienced in an Ariya, and this is the third one I've had. It's a great car. I do like this a lot. Boot space compromised. Headroom, well, we'll do our test in a minute. It is a bit expensive. There are cheaper cars that you could get that do more or less the same, but the interior, the software, and the way this car goes about its business, in my view, puts it considerably above the competition, especially in this all-wheel drive version. Can my videographer fit in the back of a Leaf wearing his stovepipe hat? Yes, he can. Can he fit in the back of an Ariya with a stovepipe hat? Come on, Thomas, come and show me. Yes. So Thomas is slightly taller than me. And he is wearing a stovepipe hat in the back of a Nissan Ariya. Stovepipe hat, seal of approval. Nissan EV Owners Group stovepipe hat approved. Katsuki copper, isn't it a lovely colour? It's not. It's a cost option on this, to be honest. I quite like it. The boot floor is quite high because there's a motor under here, because this is the E-Force version, only in an 87 kilowatt hour battery pack. 20-inch wheels, again a cost option. I'm not a fan of a big wheel, however this didn't compromise the ride at all. I'm going to say it out, I'm going to say it, this is one of the best cars that Nissan have ever made. It's a fantastic, well composed, very pretty car. The sensor knows. I wish this lit up, it doesn't. And I'm not the only person who said that. Such a beautiful car, such a well composed car, and I've had a really good day with it. If you like what we do here, please like and subscribe.